Welcome to Lab 3 on heat energy transfer. There'll be several steps to this lab, 2 main experiments. We'll talk through those now. 150 milliliters of hot water, 30 milliliters cold water, 1 temperature probe into this cup. This is the one plugged into temperature 2 now. And then 1 temperature probe just inserted into here. So the trick with this is you want to make sure that that temperature probe is about here. So kind of mark that distance and insert that far in. That way the temperature probe is about there in the water. You don't want it necessarily touching the end. And now it should stay on there. And you can add it to this one here. You can stir them both. Like that. You should come up with a graph something like this, where both temperatures come to the same point. Now the heat pulsar is a fun device. You can notice that at one end there are 2 cords. There's the Logger Pro connection for the LabQuest, and there's an AC plug for the outlet. And the other end, an immersion heater is plugged in. So the immersion heater current will flow through this and heat up. It's very hot. Do not turn it on unless it's in water, submerged in water. And that says here too, right? Lots of warnings there. Okay, follow the instructions. Then you can plug the other end into the outlet and this plug into digital pin 1 on your LabQuest Mini. With this setup, I'll have a temperature probe in the immersion heater, and the immersion heater is connected to the heat pulsar. You'll notice there's a pulse button now up on the top panel. If we look at the heat pulsar at the same time, when I click pulse, it turns on for a few seconds. Should be exactly 5 seconds. You might want to count the first time just to make sure it's configured correctly. So we've just added 1 pulse of heat to the water. We're already collecting data, and so we'll see how that affects the actual data. At some point it will level off to be a consistent temperature. You can see where I stopped stirring. That's why it's important to continuously stir to get nice clean data. I'm going to auto scale one more time. We'll see we're pretty much leveled off. So that's the amount of temperature change caused by 1 pulse of heat. You'll make use of this option under the experiment menu called Store Latest Run. That lets you store the data you just took and compare it to data that you take in the future. Pay close attention to the instructions. You'll have to save data at certain points in order to compare different runs of data. Shown here is an example of 3 different data sets with different amounts of heat applied to different amounts of water. You'll also save one of your water data runs and compare it to the data when you're using alcohol as the fluid. As you can see, the Store Data Runs feature is very important for doing this. If you're completing this lab online, these data sets are available on Moodle.